Hey, I know it's kind of late notice, but I was wondering, will you go to Araxis prom with me? Locked in the spawn room again, Commander? Ready to either run the table or go home to have everything you own repossessed? Well then, it's time for a max crash. It's a simple concept with a simple execution. Right? Wrong! Now those of you who assume such a thing can go and sit facing that corner and think about what you've done to the progress of this class. The first thing you need to ask yourself before even voicing the command for a max crash is, have you surveyed this situation properly, and is a max crash appropriate for this situation? You don't want to accidentally burn everyone's max's cooldown while looking like a total idiot in the process. Important things to consider are, how well does the enemy have you locked down? If they've got 48 men and women staring down your spawn room with rocket launchers, snipers, and air support, you're not going to get very far, are you? How about the distance you have to cross between points and objectives? Are there any large tracts of open ground where you will be vulnerable to tanks, air, and all manner of ganking? Nothing is more embarrassing than having a bunch of maxes awkwardly waddle out to get killed one by one until your entire platoon logs out before your eyes. Are there corridors where you can get choked up, or roofs and ledges where you can get C4'd from? Every little detail is going to be important here. Another important factor to consider here is if you have enough people at your command to make the crash meaningful. I'm all for the power of singular squads and all the things that can get done with good teamwork, but a big part of the max crash is having overwhelming numbers of maxes charging down your enemy. 5 or 6 maxes with engineers and a medic at their side is a force to be reckoned with, but not a force that will reverse the tide of a battle that's almost lost. You've used your amazing skills at analyzing the situation, and you've decided it's time for that max crash. The next major issue is, how heavy are you going to make this crash? The two extremes are going to be out of the question here, since obviously all maxes means that nobody can flip points or repair structures. That's the thing you don't want to leave to randoms in the area around you, because they may not do it. They may just suit up in max suits with you. The other extreme of this, which would be not having any maxes in your max crash, is not a max crash for very simple reasons. A higher max to infantry ratio will give you a lot more force, but a lot less survivability, since you won't have as many engineers and medics on hand to keep the maxes alive, repaired, and ammoed up. However, a higher infantry to max ratio will be far from as powerful as you'd like, but you'll have a lot more survivability. The whole point of a crash is to put out a ton of force, so more often than not, you're going to find yourself at the upper end of this little meter thing I've made. But try to remember, your maxes are going to need ammo, they're going to need repairs, and every once in a while, they're going to die. One last thing. Don't forget to stage this thing, because people will run out mindlessly to their death unless you tell them to stop and wait in a certain area until everyone is ready to go. Now that you've got your soldiers assembled and kitted out in sweet power armor, it's time to roll out. You need to set multiple goals since you're probably going to get to the first one with almost no opposition. Start with what's nearby the spawn and work towards the nearest thing until you've flipped all the points and removed the enemy's spawning capabilities. The only thing here that's going to cut the line in this hierarchy is the SCU and the gem that shields it, since without the SCU you can't even spawn, so you need that thing up at all times. Try to encourage your forces to stay spread out just enough to where they can focus on the same target without having the risk of C4 or Daltons destroying the entire force all at once. Now, how do we deal with these things when they happen to us, since my videos aren't exclusive to one faction or one group of players, so they could be watching this video too. Two things that are for sure going to help counter max crashes and counter crashes are choke points and taking advantage of them if they're dumb enough to slow down and stop for a bit. Use lots of rockets, C4, and anything that gives you high burst damage to take down the maxes quickly. Get the engineers and medics second, because it's a lot easier to kill a medic that's trying to desperately res a max than it is to try to kill a medic that's got a max standing right behind him filling you with lead, or plasma, or magnets, whatever you guys use in the NC. Even if the medics do get the maxes back up, it won't be too hard of a task, since the maxes will only have a sliver of their original health left, even if the medic has the top tier medic gun. Now let's review this thing before something else comes up in my life and I can't make a video for another 2.5 weeks. Thoroughly survey the situation before giving the order to suit up for a max crash. Ask yourself if you have enough human resources to properly perform a proper max crash. I said proper twice in that sentence. That's repetitive. Stage the assault. Set multiple objectives in order to avoid losing momentum. Have an end goal. If you find yourself getting crashed or counter-crashed, use choke points and take advantage of the enemy slowing down to stop them. That's it for today, leaders of Araxis. Remember to like this video if you found it informative or entertaining, and share it to your friends so that they know that you have good taste. Make sure to subscribe for more tactics and Vanu knows what else I'm going to put out when I get around to it. And if you'll excuse me, I gotta go make arrangements for Araxis prom.